So she doesn't like doggy because...
I don't like to make noises. I don't like the queefing.
Embrace the MILF Boom, because it is huge.
It was like the Matrix one day. Everything just clicked. And then I was like, oh yeah? Give it to me, give it to me.
Hey, I'm Casey Calvert.
I'm Leanna Lovings.
I'm Corey Chase.
I'm Bree Mills, and you're listening to the Adult Time Podcast.
All right, welcome to the Adult Time Podcast. REAGAN FOXX, Shay. I'm so happy that you're here today, and I can't wait to hang on to these Timmys and have a good conversation.
Yeah, we like these things.
We love these.
We were just talking about before we officially started rolling that we used to have 3. We lost one during the AVN Expo, and so now I feel like I'm somewhat sacrificing my own cuddle buddy. Because I want you two to experience it.
Would you like to hold on to it?
You know what?
Nurturing right away.
Let's start. Yeah, I know you've been taking care of me all day, Reagan. Let's start, and if I feel like I need some emotional support, I will reach across the aisle and take a turn with Timmy.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So we got a lot to talk about today because we've been doing a ton of cool stuff together, and this pod is going to come out hot on the heels of one of Adult Time's biggest projects for 2025. But before we get into that, we're going to start with a little icebreaker game. Okay. And this is a personalized one. It has to do with the two of you and your friendship. Okay. So maybe before we do the icebreaker, let's give a little context. So REAGAN FOXX, you are an incredible performer, in your own right with an illustrious career. Shay, same thing. As individuals, you've done incredible work and have really built these great fan bases. As a dynamic duo, you've been a bit of a powerhouse in the last, year or so. So how did the dynamic duo kind of come to be? And then that's going to lead me into testing how much this dynamic duo knows about each other.
Do you want to know how we met?
Yeah.
Or how we leaned into it?
I would like to know it all.
Oh.
Okay.
Start at the beginning.
I always make you tell the story because you're so good at it. It makes me smile.
Well, you should start the story with your experience during the day.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. Because I always like yours when you're like, and then I saw her, and I'm like, oh, okay. Just calm down. Just go. Okay. So I was taking a break from shooting, and I went to AVN because I hadn't been in many, many years, just to have an experience and see old friends. And I went, and I walked the floor a little bit and hung out in Vegas and got to the award show and walked the carpet, got in, and knew less people than I used to, but still a lot of familiar older faces. And I had instantly, it's funny, it was a very humbling experience because when I used to shoot a lot, and I think it's very important not to take yourself too seriously and not make materialism what defines you and make it about the love, right? So I try to always do this first in my life. But still, this was like, oh, okay. You disappear for 10 years and you know who your friends are because no one really remembers who you are.
For sure.
And I used to shoot back in the times of like, you shoot 4 or 6 big features in a year and you're a huge porn star and there's huge lines for signing and it was like very much the golden age of porn, right? Mm-hmm. So I come back and it's like, oh, okay, well, I know a few people, but there's all these cam booths and I completely missed, like I quit after DVDs came in. Some of the big online companies had started and I did some stuff for them and then kind of went off to do my other businesses. And so I came back and there was not that many. I was like,
totally different world.
Yeah. And then I walked into the award show, completely different world than my last experience there. And multiple people, oh my God. People mistaking me for REAGAN FOXX. She looks so much like REAGAN FOXX. And because we'd probably just done this and she had started right when I had left and we never met. And I came back and shot a couple of scenes, but not enough to like really be back in and relevant. But, and then up comes this blue-eyed, raven-haired beauty with this huge grin on her face. And she's like, hi. And she will say that I was standoffish, but I want to preface with, it wasn't because I was pissed off that everyone was saying I look like her. I'm a very nice person. It's just because I'm a very sensitive person. And even though I can dom the crap out of people and be really evil, I'm not a big crowd people. I'm not agoraphobic, but I am very empathic. So I was already like, whoa, okay, I don't usually, this is just a lot. I'd been on the floor that day and it was a show. And so she came up with all this energy, and it wasn't that I was like, oh, you're the girl that, but she thought that I thought that. And it was like, I was just like, oh, there's so many people here and you're smiling really big and I don't know what to do with that.
So you had, so literally it was like Kismet where you came back to the award or to the expo. You were kind of feeling overwhelmed just by stepping back into this universe that had completely changed.
Correct.
And the one consistency during the day was people mistaking you for REAGAN FOXX, who you had never met, didn't know the name beforehand necessarily. And then by the end of the day, the REAGAN FOXX shows up and is introducing herself?
Well, we're sitting in the same row.
Yeah, we were sitting in the same row.
And the performer was several hours late that year. And so, we were walking back and forth getting drinks and
I hadn't seen her.
restroom.
But
I
everyone kept saying it to me.
seeing this beautiful ravened, green-eyed beauty at the end of the way, and I was like, "Who is that? I've got to talk to her. Like, this girl's pretty. I need to go talk to her." And when I went up to her and she gave me that little her energy back, I was like, "Oh." So then we really didn't talk for a year.
But did we exchange numbers? Because I was not active in the industry, and then COVID happened, sort of, right? And then somehow I knew to contact you, and we were going to shoot content because I started my OnlyFans going. Am I allowed to say that on here?
Yeah, 100%.
And and so I think that we'd exchanged numbers because you did come up so I had started with everyone like, oh, you look like REAGAN FOXX. I'm like, and then she's like, hi, I'm REAGAN FOXX. And I just was like, ah.
It was too much. You're like,
it was a lot. Yeah,
I'm done.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
right.
And she's such a outgoing, openly loving, nurturing person. And she was like, oh, and I was like, hi, a little bit.
Yeah.
So, and she's like, oh God. And looking at it now, I would have seemed like kind of a dick probably, but.
It took a couple years for us to start a friendship.
Yeah.
And then I really was leaning into, we need to, we look alike. People are mistaking us for one another. And I'm not really sure you felt that energy or wanted to do anything like that in the beginning.
Not until people kept mistaking us.
And then we were at AVN and people were actually coming up to us. Her PR rep at the time was completely was talking to me, and I think it upset you a little bit. So I think at that point we realized
I think that person got upset. Therefore, I was trying to
well,
it doesn't matter.
I think that once that started happening, and then I went to a few people, and we couldn't really ever get this project off the ground. And so she said, "Let me talk to Mark," and Mark talked with you, and so forth. And then we were just really lucky to move forward.
And we were talking about doing it, and it just didn't ever quite feel right.
It didn't. There was, we
Yeah.
were getting a lot of offers, and a lot of different agencies were reaching out to our agencies. A lot of companies were reaching out to us, and we just didn't like what was being presented.
They just wanted scenes, and they wanted. By then, we had so. For me in the beginning, I didn't really see it, and someone had said there had been people that had said it, but we hooked up and we had drinks in my kitchen. I remember this, and she's like, "What are you doing with your OnlyFans?" And I'm like, I don't know, I'm just kind of, and this is so funny and embarrassing all at once, but I was doing it like old school. I'm like, I don't know, I charge whatever the number, and I just do a website that you join, and she's like, you're not answering your DMs or any of that. I'm like, no. And so she's like, oh girl, no. And so she helped me immensely in the beginning kind of get with the times because she did come from the camming world and was very good at it. And so then I realized there was so much to do with pushing traffic, and I just was like, I tried to go on Reddit and things, and I'm like, this is just a lot. Yeah. So I called Mark and started shooting again. And when I started going to more events and getting more active on my Twitter, because it had happened a little, but that's when people started from everywhere legitimately just tagging us as each other with each other's picture. And we were still going, I mean, I kind of see it, but I don't like, really? She has blue eyes, I have green, our hair is a slightly different color, like, you know what I mean? And so we kind of say that, and like, her boobs are a little bigger, and
Yeah.
But then it kept happening, and then more so, like, my PR, I think your agent chased me down from behind some directors at AVN on my first AVN.
People at the testing site.
Oh, yeah. She's like, did you just get tested? I'm
So-
like, yeah. She's like, yeah, they just thought I was you.
So it was one of those things where, it was everyone else around you was kept bringing it back to the point where you really couldn't ignore, like,
And she's like, we need to do something with this.
Yeah.
But wanted to do something very special.
Yeah. What would you say you've come to love and appreciate about each other over the last couple of years as you've really become good friends?
I want to hear you.
Well, you said that I helped you in the beginning. I do really love how you are always trying to better your circumstances around you with, the content that you're providing and the extra videos that, that we do and so forth. And you've really pushed me out of when I stopped camming, I stopped being creative, and I just have been doing porn for the last 10 years. So for me, when you bring in this creativity, I'm like, oh, I remember that. Oh, I should, I used to dress up all the time, or I would take pictures for the holidays and that sort of thing. And so you've brought that life back to me where I have to be on social media a little bit more than what I actually want to, because I was so burnt out when I left camming. I don't want to be on social media all the time. And so you're always like, we've got to push that traffic. We've got to do this. Reagan, we have to do this. And so I do appreciate that about you.
Oh, that makes me so incredibly happy, because I thought that you were going to be like, it's kind of a lot. Because I always feel like I'm like, hi, it's Megan with the camera.
Hi.
And she's like,
She is a lot.
yeah.
I never have my phone. You always have your phone.
Yeah,
That's true.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
And I have an obnoxiously bright light right now that I don't know how to use, and it will stay over there until I figure it out.
So what about you, Shay? What do you love about Reagan?
She's always very nurturing and a caretaker. And I think that we're both very much people pleasers. So that works, because even though our dynamics and personalities are very different, it's like, are you good and are you good, which is like the core of it, right? And I would say she definitely brings me back down and keeps me, not that I'm a spaz, but I have a lot of irons in the fire, and I can stay pretty zen. But there's times for that, and there's times for, let's just be present and put our phones down and have dinner. And she really is great with that. Let's just like be with our dogs right now. And it reflects back and reminds me to not always be pushing so hard. And I'll throw this out there, like, when you come back in, as big as the MILF genre is, there's still, in my opinion, not for everyone, this is just my experience, I do have a shelf life. So there's always that pressure for me, right? Of like, I have this time left. And so I have to like try to do, and then being around her, she's just this like beautiful, loving earth mother. And you're like, wait a second, do I have to do all that?
Yeah.
And we went to Mexico together, and it was lovely, because I think I pushed you so that we got all these cool reels and stuff, but you also were like, let's be in Mexico,
Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah, you kind of balance each other out that way. Well, I think that's important. I mean, I've obviously we've spent a good amount of time together, and I would say I kind of like second what you each are sharing about each other. But I see that that's something that works to the benefit of you as a team, where there's that sort of like driven, ambitious side, and then there's also that quiet, confident, grounding side. And you can't really have one. You do need both.
We're
to
both
function.
Aries.
Yeah.
So we both are very strong.
Yeah, she's not a pussy.
No.
Yeah, like if I step on her, she'll tell me.
Yeah. Well, that's what I've always loved.
good, though.
But that's
You
what
have
I've
to have
always
a
loved
voice.
about Reagan, is that she's so sweet.
Yeah.
But like there's a confidence there.
Yeah.
It's not. It's like I describe it as a quiet confidence. Like there's something that one can respect when somebody can say like, let's chill. And I say that as a person who never chills. I'm kind of like I have many irons in the fire as well, right? So I always respect those that are really like, pushing and pushing and pushing, because I see a lot of myself in that.
Yeah.
But I also respect those who can be like, it's important to pause in order to push harder.
She never tells me to do it. She just teaches by being.
Yeah.
Which is so, I'm like, oh, she's just, I'm like, okay, you know?
Well,
Yeah.
I just think we can still get it all done, but just in a more laid back, fun way.
Awesome. Laid back and fun. Those are two words that I will take us into this next game, which is now that we've introduced the context for this dynamic duo. I want to put the duo to the test. Okay. So this is a game where I'm going to take turns asking each of you a question. And I want you to be able to answer on behalf of each other.
Okay, I'm gonna squeeze my Timmy.
Yeah, squeeze your Timmy. Now, I will also. I also could chime in on this as well, right?
Okay.
So okay. It's one of those. It's kind of like the newlyweds game, right? Where you need to answer on behalf of your partner. In this case, your dear friend. And let's see how many of these answers come up correct. Okay.
Okay.
So let's start with who do I put on the spot? Let me see. I'm gonna go with quiet confidence. All right, Reagan. I'm gonna put you on the spot. How did Shay come up with her stage name?
Oh, shoot.
Oh, I feel like we've had this story
We have
before.
had this story.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot.
God, I'm so glad you didn't ask me that.
Let's get
I don't know.
Okay. All right. What about Shay? Do you know how Reagan came up with her?
I do, but
Okay.
we might have had a couple glasses of champagne that night and we've both forgotten.
Okay.
Because you've told me.
So why don't we enlighten each other now? Let's take the opportunity. How did each of you come up with your stage name?
Do you want to go first?
No, go for it.
So when I was much younger, like in grade school, my dad used to drive down from Vancouver, Canada, to LA to see his friends from college. And when you're a kid from Canada, like the LA kids are so cool.
Oh, yeah.
Like surfer. And I mean, it must have been like 5th grade, but it was like, oh my God, all the things in the stores and everything was like, this is so cool. Like you can't get this stuff. You can't get milk duds in Canada.
Yeah.
And like all this like makeup and things. I mean, you can get makeup, but it's just different. And so I went to school with their daughter and there was like the really like popular guy and his name was Shay Seitz. And I think he probably was German. It was like Sietz or something. And for whatever reason, that name stuck in my freaking brain until I was, I don't know what, 20, and started dancing. And that became my stage name.
Yeah.
I'm like, Shay Seitz.
Awesome. So it's inspired by a cool LA schoolboy.
Oh yeah, and he was like the guy, everyone's like, oh God, it's Shay Seitz.
I mean, now that we're framing it that way, like Shay Seitz would be like kind of a hunky surfer
yeah.
idol. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
So I did not know that story.
Okay.
So my question would be, has he ever reached out to you and went, hey, I think I know you?
No.
All right. Well,
He hasn't,
never
but
too late.
maybe I should find him. Maybe
Yeah.
not.
Interesting.
We'll see.
Interesting.
Maybe the two Shay Sites can collide at some point in the future.
Of course, I put the little spin on like the last name, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really close. Yeah.
yeah.
What about you, Reagan?
Okay, so I always liked the name Reagan, and I wanted that for actually one of my daughters, and I was married to a Democrat that said, no, that's not going to happen. So I just always thought it was a strong name, and when I came in, I was like, you know what, I really like that name. That name is also the girl from Exorcist. So, take your pick. It doesn't mean anything. And as far as Fox, if I had actually watched porn and known how many foxes, I would have known John Fox.
Yes.
It's the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the same thing with Bree was a nickname I had growing up. My full name is Sabrina, so it just was like kind of just an easy short form. But I had there at least at a time were several other much more notable performers named Bree that I would get mistakenly tagged in, and so yeah, same thing. Hindsight is 20/20, right? Okay, let's now. I would be curious if you know this one. Okay, I'm going to throw Shay under the bus. What is Reagan's favorite sex position?
I'm going through all our scenes in my brain and the noises she makes. I know it's not doggy.
I love the twiddling of the thumbs that instantly started.
Would you like to tell everyone why I don't like doggy?
I would not.
Okay.
Would you like me to?
I will, but you were on.
You say it. This is good. So she doesn't like doggy because
I don't like to make noises. I don't like the queefing. I know like there's a lot of men out there that like it. They say, oh, it talks. I don't like it. It instantly is a turn off for me. I will kill that scene. I try not to look at the camera, but I'm like, oh, I'm just dying inside.
Yeah.
And Doggy hurts me, so usually she has to take one for the team. So we'll be on set, and it's like, and I'm like, oh God, just the way I'm positioned, it's not good. And she doesn't want me to be in pain, so she's like, okay, I'll do it.
What's my favorite sex position?
I'm gonna say it's not for a scene, just in general.
I think so.
I mean, I think in general, yeah.
I don't think you've ever told me. If I had to guess, I'd say Mish or Cowgirl, but not Cowgirl for camera.
I would say Mish for you.
Yeah, like a scissor Mish so I can watch.
Yeah, I want to see.
Yeah.
I always want to see. I want to see everything.
Yeah. Yeah, so usually it's like,
So scissor mish would be, I'm trying to think about
kind of just a mish with a leg open so
Gotcha,
you can see things happening.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. And the motivation is the same, which is that you both want to watch.
Visual.
I want to see me. I want to see what's happening.
Yeah.
All of it.
Yeah.
Nice. What is Shay's most prized possession?
The precious. Timmy.
Besides Timmy.
Her dog.
That's a good one.
You have so many great things in your house, so many memorable pieces of art in your that I know are really important to you, but I don't know if I know of a prized possession.
That's probably a good answer.
Okay.
Because I probably don't have a prized possession.
I mean, I vote Groku.
I think Grogu, is that a possession? Yeah.
This is Shay's incredibly adorable, bobble-headed, tiny, sweet little doggy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's my man.
Yeah.
He's the bomb. It would probably be, yeah.
All right, flip the switch. What's Reagan's most prized
Same.
possession?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's even easier than me. All day long.
Yeah.
Her animals.
Any animals? No animals safe around.
Yeah, yeah.
So what animals do you have?
Well, I'm down. I'm down to only 5. We have 4 dogs and a cat at the moment. So
Yeah.
it's just very, very small little pack right now.
Yeah. There's something once you have a certain number that it really just becomes a pack.
We were actually at 8 recently, and it's just 5 is small.
Yeah. we did recently have to put our eldest cat down, but we had 3 cats and a dog. And I will say 3 cats and a dog and 2 kids under 10, that is too large of a pack.
Is it?
It's an intense pack. So. But animals are amazing. Okay, so animals are our most prized possession. My last question from this segment, let me see. We've got a lot of options here. Here's something. What is Reagan's like biggest turn on?
I don't think she'd know this.
Setting you up for success, yeah.
Would you like a water? I just got a really dry mouth for some reason. I can guess. Your biggest turn on? I'm going to just go with what I would say, which is just is connecting and like a really amazing human being that's respectful and kind. I don't know.
I was going to say a hat backwards on someone that I like.
I thought she was going to go like a huge dick, and I'm like, no, I'm off. A hat backwards?
Yeah, it's a big turn on.
Oh, okay. I would never know that.
Good.
But I know she's a country music fan at heart, and that would kind of make sense.
I don't know what your turn on would be either.
Oh, I just told you.
I wasn't.
Had connection and
So
someone who's really kind and respectful.
very respectful.
Yeah, which is so funny because my scenes are usually, not like, mommy's girl, obviously, but usually I'm more like, ah. But I think because I've done so much of that and I do have that like alter ego, for me, like my biggest turn on is just like amazing humans that I really like, that touch my heart.
So here's a question. As performers who obviously have a lot of sexual experiences in front of the camera playing different roles in different scenarios. Do you find that has shaped your off-camera interests? Because, say for you, Shay, there's so much of playing into a certain archetype on camera. Do you find that now the desire to do that off camera has changed, or do you enjoy, playing that kind of, do you enjoy that kind of like role play in your personal life as well?
Oh, role play. I was going to say like facets of it, because for sure if I'm shooting a lot and in makeup all the time, like the dream is, can I just work from home today and literally wear my pajamas or lounge clothes with my hair up and glasses on and no makeup? So that aspect of it, yeah. But, and also too, yeah, I guess at home, it kind of depends, because I have little like crazy moments, but I think that at home, if I'm shooting a lot a certain way, then I kind of want to do something different in my downtime maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's me though. No?
No, I don't think anything I do at work, it hits my bedroom. I don't think so.
Yeah. Well, and I've found, like, obviously I've only ever worked behind the camera, but I definitely have found that in my years of being, because in a way, like we're all like constantly thinking about sex, right? Like we're all thinking about it. We're thinking about angles. We're thinking about scenarios. We're thinking about it as like a product. And that kind of, in a way, distorts and warps just, you're thinking about this, you're thinking about intimacy all the time, but you're thinking about it in this in this abstract way. And then, you got to turn that off and experience it in your life. And I have found that it's, it often can get quite clouded, right? Because it's like the one side of it, which to me is extremely different from how I am with my wife or like my own private intimacy. But it's been something that I've really realized, like, it takes its toll unless you, have a good separation. But for some people, it's like, it's the bloodline throughout everything, right? So I think everybody's experience is different. I love asking that question because, we all have to think about sex all the time. And in some cases that, it might be a relief sometimes to not think about it and just be super vanilla in one's own life, or, super laid back that way.
Yeah.
When I get behind on customs and if I need a dick or something, that honestly, I don't want to have that camera on because I just want to connect with that person. But I do think because we have so much on our plates that it is rare, honestly, to have just normal sex for me, because I'm always in that work mode. But I would prefer it not to be.
Yeah. It actually is hard when you have, someone you're dating or married to, or even just a camera person that's around all the time. Or whoever you're having sex with, it's really hard when we need so much content all the time to not be like, okay, you've got a hard on, don't waste the pop shot. Like, it's just, even if it's just some little clip or something. And also, like, we want to please our fans and they love seeing what we're doing. So it's hard to just, and even you're great because Reagan goes like home to Arizona and has time, but still with content now, we're just always on.
Yeah. Or you feel guilty, right? Like if you're not recording, you're like, oh, like I could.
Yeah.
And then you're like, why am I feeling guilty about having,
I remove myself and go to Mexico and I'm like, okay, I'm getting away. And I'm like, oh, this beach. You don't get a beach to shoot on at home. I'm like,
well, that is true, Shay. You're right on that.
Yeah, I know. So now it's like actually double because I'm like, this location is fantastic.
Yeah. No, it's true. And it's interesting to try to navigate that. I think that's why it's important to have a sort of a bit of a separation as much as you can. But then you make those sacrifices, right? Like you mentioned, social media, right? Like you felt so burnt out from camming that you're like, I don't want to spend my whole life posting everything. Oh, I feel that way all the time too. But then at the same point, if you're not doing it, then you're not keeping up appearances or being as quote unquote relevant or as in, and so, I personally struggle with that all the time. I'm very lucky that we have a whole team at Adult Time that's posting that I can do a lot of retweeting, which is not always the same case for you all. But yeah, it's definitely something that I don't think gets talked about enough in the industry. Like, how do you navigate that? Like when to turn work off, So let's talk about work. Thank you. You both, I would say, maybe didn't pass the test with flying colors, but we all learned something.
I was just going to say that I really enjoyed learning these things, though.
Yeah. Well, we've got some more, so maybe we'll come back to some more. But I want to learn. We talked a little bit about each of your paths into the industry at the top of the podcast, but I want to delve a little bit deeper into both of your backstories, like individual backstories. So let's start with. Let's start with you, Shay. So you mentioned that you were active, it was like late 90s into the first, decade of the 2000s, and then stepped away for a period of time and returned. So tell me about that first, your sort of first journey in the industry, and then what you've really noticed as being the biggest changes since you came back because you had such a gap period.
Oh gosh, well, there was changes even when I was in.
Yeah.
There's been big ones. That's why when everyone freaks out, I'm like, bah.
We'll make it
I was here for
through.
DVDs.
Yeah.
It'll be fine.
Yeah.
Everyone was like, getting rid of the VHS? What are we going to do? And I'm like, you'll be fine. And so how I got, the first question is,
How did you get in?
I never ever looked for it. It just kept finding me. So I just kind of like Reagan and I looking like each other. It's like, let's just do this, I was feature dancing in Toronto many moons ago. And they used to have, I was house featuring. I did a pretty elaborate show at the time. And they had big American porn star features that would come in, usually the Vivid contract girls at the time. So, and it was so funny. When I met Diana, she came in, Diana Loran, and I was like, oh, I think I was in her dressing room or something, but she was very polite with me. But she was clearly the bigger name, and she was kind of like, I think this is my dressing room. And I'm like, oh, okay. And she just said, I instantly just connected with you and saw something in you, and we became friends. And then, rest in peace, Gentile came in and danced, and Diana was our signing when they used to do the big signings, and we connected again. I was still at the same club. I was there doing a bunch of immigration stuff, so I had to be close to Ottawa. And I connected, and she said, hey, when you get everything sorted out and you get back down to the U.S., come and see me. I just started directing for Vivid. So I did, and I went down there, and she put me in the very first, she won awards for this, and this is how old it was. It was right when DVDs came in. Actually, in Toronto when I was there, though, I got scouted by, God, what's his name? Jim Gunn.
Jim. Okay, yeah.
For Devils.
Mm-hmm. Oh, boy.
And I have
both Vivid and Devils now associated with the Adult Time brand.
Yeah, Devils is, I don't know if he's still
around.
around, but he did something called the Great Canadian Stripper Search.
Okay.
And I was in part 2.
Yeah.
There you go. Everyone's going to now go
Look it
for
up,
that.
everybody.
It's like my nightmare.
Yeah.
And there was another one that I will remain unnamed because it's equally as embarrassing. But they just in Toronto, like they just kept finding me, like, do you want to shoot this thing? And I was like, okay. And the person I was with at the time was open to it. So I did a couple of movies, and so when Diana came, it just made sense. I came down, she put me in the first Vivid interactive DVD they did, which was, a very long day, and it was a lot of new tech for everyone, and it did really well. And she took me into Jim South's office, and then the rest is just kind of history.
Yeah. So the maybe explain to those who aren't as familiar, like what Vivid represented back in the day.
Vivid. It was Vivid Wicked VCA. No offense to the owners or any one of these companies.
We also own Wicked now, so it's okay. Wicked and Vivid are in the family.
Yeah. Perfect. So and a little bit of Sin City, and then a bunch of other companies. But Vivid was, gosh.
You wanted to be a Vivid girl, correct?
I never did because I don't do well with like.
But that was kind
conforming.
That was kind of
but
the
that was
stance.
yeah. Being a
wanted to
Vivid
be a
girl
Vivid girl.
was, and Diana, who was a Vivid girl. So when you were on contract with Vivid, that was, I'm trying to think of a good analogy.
It was kind of like, not quite at the level of being a Playboy centerfold, but it was a status, it was an achievement, it was the kind of the cream of the crop of the talent pool, which at the time was so much smaller and more, a much smaller exclusive community. But to be a Vivid girl, from my understanding of the history, was, it was a real kind of milestone and sort of status symbol, and represented adult performers in a way that at the time was sort of similar to, again, like quite glamorous, quite, it was a real kind of
and then it made back then, just the money to feature dance and the things you got with that, and the money made on signings, and like it was, and so it was. Vivid was a big.
Yeah, I know it was, for me. Then. It was the first porn I ever saw.
Yeah,
where the boys aren't.
And Diana.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
like
Diana did a bunch of those.
Yeah, says a lot. But yeah, like it was pretty iconic. So it was cool that you connected with somebody who was doing a lot with the brand at the time.
And then I did most of my early stuff, all of the like Robbie D when he was with them, and so that was most of the early stuff I did, and then I just started branching out and shooting for everyone. But it was, what was that? There was a second facet to the question.
Well, it would be I'm going to ask Reagan the same, and then I think we can come back to, because it's about like once one is sort of what you've seen in terms of the biggest evolution. I like your point about the fact that stuff changes all the time. Yeah. And certainly you've seen a lot of changes. So, but Reagan, you came in through the camming side of the industry. Can you share with us a bit about how you first got involved in camming, and then also just the transition from camming to shooting and your whole journey there?
I was doing appraisal work when the housing market crashed, and it got unsustainable to survive on that type of work. So I had a friend that was a cam girl. And I went to my best friend, who was a guy, and I said, I think I'm going to cam. And he was like, what? You? You are too introverted. There's no way there's no way. And I was like, no, I think I'm going to try it. And so I did. And I told him, I was like, 1 year, I'm out. Market's going to change. I'm going to go back to my normal job. I'm out. And then 5 years later, I was still there. Jodie West came into town. She was an active old school legend, porn star, I don't know what her status was, and came into town, hooked up with the lifestyle swinger community, which I had known for years and years. And she knew I cammed and said, hey, if you want to do anything, let me know. So on my first 5 scenes, I did with her. And I think Cody Steele was my very first on her set. And I just slowly kind of transitioned and realized I needed more. And then that's when Kieran Lee picked me up and gave me and that was 10 years ago this month.
Wow.
And
happy anniversary.
Thank you. Thank you.
A decade.
I remember the first year, I would write down every scene that I did and what the date was and when it actually came out. I wanted to know. And that first year, I didn't start with browsers that year until August, and I did 65 scenes that year, and my goal was 100. And I think back on that, like, oh gosh,
I'm like, my vagina hurts.
Right,
instant pain in the
phantom vagina pain.
Big difference from when you did all those features and so forth, and then I'm just shooting just to be relevant, trying to shoot as much as I can and anything I can, and I was in town 3 weeks out of every month, and I missed everything that my kids were doing during that time because I was so quiet and so uncomfortable on set. I would sweat profusely, and I probably still do sometimes because I haven't shot in a while. But
we'll take care of you later. It's okay.
I just never felt comfortable, and then everyone said, "Oh, it takes 3 years for you to actually do well," and I was like, "Are you kidding me? This is sex." And honestly, 3 years later, it was like the Matrix one day. Everything just clicked. And then I was like, oh yeah, give it to me. Like I could just, at that point, I just felt comfortable. So I wish that I had come in earlier because it took so long for me to kind of get my stride. And now I'm at a point where I'm on that ledge where I've got to be done. And so I just wish I had that more time.
Yeah. What cam platform did you primarily?
MFC.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
I tried all the
Yeah, yeah.
others, but MFC was. And when I started back in 2000, late 10, the girls on there, they didn't talk. They were on their phones. They were looking like this. And I was like, oh, no. We've got to have a conversation and talk and so forth. And I think that's really why I was so lucky to have that cam base follow me and still is with me to this day.
Yeah.
Because I have that loyalty from those guys. And, they saw me go through it all.
Yeah.
I'd be on there drunk all the time. Just, who wants to see my boobs? I'll do a shot, just silly stuff they see me go through.
I wish I'd seen that.
Well, I'm sure it's all
Sounds like when
videoed
we
out there on the
I'm like,
internet.
that sounds like when we hang out and do calls now.
Oh, there you go.
Sorry, hit that.
Funny story, when I started in the adult industry, it was actually because my company had acquired a live cam business, and I was hired to do marketing for it. And I had never heard of live cams before. This was not one of the top ones, but it gave me a crash course that first year in the camming side. And it was probably around the time that you started with MFC. And I remember MFC was like really popping off at that point, in large part because of their, the flexibility that they gave to cam performers to be able to like use the streaming service to kind of do whatever, right? To really create their own games, create their own personalities. And I've always thought that was really cool. It gave a foundation for the OnlyFans business and for a lot of the creators that we see today. A lot of the most creative people in the game came from the fact that they had to make, you had to do something to be entertaining, right? And you build that loyalty. So do you find like a strong percentage of your fan base is still from those days?
I would say, that's a good question. I know I've got a solid 10 guys that are still there for me,
Yeah.
still message me all the time. One has died, and it
Yeah.
really, I think about him all the time.
Yeah.
In our last conversation, I'm going to go, I don't feel very well. That was the last thing you said to me.
Yeah.
And so I'd say probably just maybe 10 guys.
Yeah. But those lasting relationships that stick with you.
Always.
Again, a message for the trolls. A message for the trolls out there. Don't cloud, because there's nice people out there too, right? And they're like, for all of us, there's fans over the years that have stuck with us and have been like super, super kind and loyal and respectful, and almost everybody that I speak to always has that, that small but mighty group of people that really have made an impact on their lives and are friends and have like developed that. And I think that's something that gets lost sometimes by all the people, that are polluting the environment with their trolling. So you've both hinted on this, which I think is interesting, with like the concept of time, right? And I think it's safe to say that we are in a MILF boom.
Yeah.
Okay, which is great.
That's a good T-shirt.
It's a good T-shirt.
We're in a MILF boom.
I know like a lot of my projects that I'm working on this year, I'm are very MILF heavy. And not just because it's super trendy, because you all are like super professional, great to work with. You show up, you know your lines. It's like there's a value to experience in all aspects. But there is that kind of perpetual clock looming over the industry, right? Where it's like, you've only got this many years before you're moved from one category to the next. How real is that, and how much does that kind of impact a lot of the decisions you make and the ways you've navigated your career? And is that something that we can alleviate in any way? Because I would just like to say, the GILF boom is there for the taking if it is seized.
Well, but back to your comment about trolls.
Yeah.
If people would just be nice, that would be lovely.
Yeah.
And the problem now with social media is when you do have something go viral, which is the goal, right? And often her and I get stuff on TikTok that's huge, and people hide behind social media. So people are just mean and hurtful and just fucking retire, getting old. And there's a million people going, we're huge fans. And apparently we're supposed to lean into that and stuff. But I'm a sensitive person. It doesn't feel good. So, and I wouldn't retire because of that. And God bless the women that do embrace the MILF boom, because it is huge. I personally, I couldn't do it because of and again, controversy, and it's all about everybody engaging, right? And so you do something that's, people want to talk about, and there's all this engagement, and apparently that's a good thing. I just don't think I have a thick enough skin to deal with it.
Yeah.
It just is, it's incredibly hard, and God bless them, man. I mean, I just don't think I could do it. But now, not that I would, just publicly, will I still be shooting down on a beach in Mexico on my own time, doing my own stuff? And, absolutely.
No, but you raise a super valid point, which is, like it is, people grossly underestimate what it takes to put yourself all out there and face just the barrage of hate and criticism. And the fact that you can't just say, oh, turn it off, don't look at social media.
Yeah. And
because you're a human being.
Getting older on camera and trying to be sexy is, it can be a mindfuck completely. Yeah. So we're all just doing the best we can.
Well, we're not only aging in front of the camera, we're also just in general aging with ourselves. And dealing with the changes that we deal with ourselves. I can walk into a store with my daughters where I used to get that attention. My daughters get it. So, there's, and it's just a gradual part of life. So I think that we deal, people go, oh, boo-hoo, they're, but we're dealing with it with different facets.
Different facets. And just also, too, what your body can take. I've always said porn is like sexual Olympics. It's the stuff we do and for how long. And it is taxing on the body when you're constantly shooting scenes and content and studio scenes. And then you also have to think, okay, let's just say hypothetically, I go, okay, I'm going to embrace the MILF thing and go balls to the wall with that. There's always that, for me, that what happens when I'm done? Do you just go, okay, I'm retiring now? So what's the transition look like? And for me, it's what is my inner fulfillment? What's my next step? So when I talk about retiring, it's this slow transition into what comes next as I slowly move on with my life to other things. But I'll shoot content for people as long as they want to watch it. I'm just not going to scream it from the mountaintops and call it something. But, do I care on my platforms, on my OnlyFans, if someone wants to call me a GILF, which probably people would do now. I don't care, but they're not being mean about it because they're a fan and I'm making them happy and they're supporting me. They're not on TikTok going, which is just what I don't want to be a part of.
Yeah, absolutely. What within the MILF community, how would you describe the MILF community? Is it generally, because it has become so popular? Most of the more experienced performers that I work with are all like very lovely, and it seems like a very harmonious, wonderful, loving community. But it's also competitive, right? Because it has become popular. Do you feel like it is sort of like there's been a kind of community that has come out of like kind of uniting and supporting each other within this group, or is it still that old? Everybody's kind of out for themselves.
I might be different because I'm not here, so I'll just. For me, I do think that all of us that have been in it for a long period of time, all the legends, all the people that are still somewhat shooting, us coming up, we're going to hit that stage soon. I feel like, for me personally, I'm there for everybody. I want everyone to succeed. I'm going to cheer on everyone's successes. I think my only thing is the new girls that come in, if there's a little bit of lack of respect or they don't know who I am, I don't like that. But that's it. I would still cheer them on, but I do when someone doesn't realize, that we've been here for so long.
Yeah, just a little like a respect thing. Yeah, because it is, having been here, and you've not taken a break. 10 years of going hard, that does deserve respect.
Yeah.
Or just not knowing. I don't know, just not being kind or giving, I don't know.
Yeah, just not having respect. I mean, the one thing I've often thought about is there would be a great value behind the kind of like a mentorship program within the community. Obviously, there's some important tips and tricks that newbies should learn that you don't learn in a manual, you learn from those who've experienced it. But even just to help educate, who are those that have come before you that you should respect, who are people that you could go to for advice. I can think of so many examples of people that would be great mentors, but that's something that we don't really have the infrastructure for. It's on my bucket list for porn to have that kind of program in place in the future.
That'd be good. That'd be really good, actually.
What's left on each of your bucket lists? Is there something that in the precious time that we still have with each of you that you would love to experience or accomplish?
In porn or in life?
Let's say in porn, and then we can go to life, because I want to know both.
I don't know. In porn, I did my first gangbang last year, but it was a wee tiny gangbang.
Yeah.
So I might bump that. I might up that a little bit.
By wee tiny, you mean the number of gentlemen involved?
Yeah, not the dick size. Yes.
Not the dick size.
But I mean, I'm trying to think. I would say that I actually enjoyed that. It was a personal challenge and a bucket list thing. And I'm like, that was like kind of fun. And it wasn't so much of the like all these people on you. It was just everybody. And I had really great talent. So, so for me, it's like, because I would say this year I'm focused on doing more extreme scenes like I used to. They don't give the mom the DP.
But they can.
Or the airtight scene.
I'm taking notes.
Yeah. Or like airtight. And my fans, like when I do that, they're like they haven't had a new DP from me in forever. And I did my first double vag in that, which was cool. I was like, I can do that. Okay, great. And so I miss doing like those like crazy balls to the wall hardcore Shay scenes, and I do rarely get to do them. But I've also realized I'm similar to Reagan in a sense of like, or maybe I'm speaking for you. I don't push people for things. I push myself, but I don't go to other people and go, give me this, So I'm learning to have a voice and actually say like, I want, and again, 3 years, right? I've been back for 3 years now, and I feel like my relevancy is at a place now where I actually can go and ask for some of those scenes. And I'm doing that this year because I had fun and I want to do more of that.
Yeah. So I heard a DP, airtight.
More gangbangs.
More gangbang. More now.
Yeah.
When
you put me in those scenes, you're just going to get more extreme.
Okay. When you say we gangbangs, it was how many guys?
4.
4. Okay. So what would
it's supposed to be 5, but I know better.
Yes.
You book 5 and 4 will be there.
4 will prevail. So what would be the number, the ideal number?
I feel like I'm not, okay, so I get where you're going with this. I feel like I'm not like the 10 guy because I just like
That's a lot of penises.
That's just like so much going on. And I feel, and having directed and produced myself back in the day and things, like I feel bad for the male talent because I know how hard they work and they're just sitting around jacking off, and it just feels like not everyone is dancing.
Yeah.
So I think knowing what I know now, I could easily do 5, which means book 6, 5 will be there.
Yeah.
Book 6, 4 might show up, but hopefully 5.
And if you get 6, then hey, like you said, you want to push the thing. Okay, so your bucket list is extreme Shay extreme edition.
Yeah, I would like to go out. I'm not saying I want to like get up and go to set every day and shoot those scenes all the time, but like I used to shoot them, which was back in the day of features and things like that, and Extreme Associates, who I did most of that stuff for and things. It was, you shot 4 to 6 big movies a year and you were a huge porn star. And now it's like, add zeros to that.
Right.
So again, like if I did like 3 or 4 like big crazy scenes like that, that'd be great. I'd love to do that. So that's part of my plan. But I took a month after the conventions because I was exhausted.
Yeah.
But that's on my list for this month.
What about you, Reagan? What's on your porn bucket list?
I don't even know how to go after that. Mine's so basic.
I love basic.
For me, I don't know if I'll go to the extreme stuff. I mean, I'm willing to talk and do something. I don't know. That's a really good question.
I'm all like, I'll put something in.
For me, it's more big projects. I really have that acting bug. Being nommed for Best Actress 2 years in a row really is more. It's a higher award for. It's a higher gratification for me than a MILF nom. You know, I've had those 10 years in a row, and so for me, I am enjoying that because I've came into this so introverted and quiet. The fact that I'm able to memorize my lines and actually really just relax when I'm behind that camera and give. I look for that.
Yeah.
And then add the sex in for a little bonus and so forth.
So could you say that we're fulfilling your bucket list in April?
Part of it, yes.
Okay.
Well, that's a good segue.
Oh, you like
Shay.
that?
I really like that.
Yeah.
You're helping me out. I don't even have a Timmy, and I feel comforted and supported.
Are you?
You know what? I feel good. I feel good. You two always put me at ease. Like, and so this is. I definitely want to transition to talk about the work that we've done together, and how hopefully we can play a role in helping to achieve at least some of these bucket list items. But most importantly, just the cool relationship that we've all formed. So when we started the pod, we talked about the fact that you two were constantly being mistaken for each other to the point where it could not be denied. Something needed to be done creatively, of course. And you spoke to your agent about it. Your agent, shout out Mark, ATLMLA, thought of us because of our work in doing narrative content.
Specifically you.
Yes. And I got my hands on the idea of what we could do with lookalikes and pitched you all the idea for Let Me In, which may not have been what you had initially imagined, probably not. But I loved what you came back to with feedback and ideas, and the fact that we took these ingredients and really worked together to kind of create the supernatural story of a doppelganger who is haunting a woman and comes back into her life, and that became Let Me In.
Was that the door?
Yeah, do you want me to get it?
No, honey, I'll get it. Okay.
All right.
All right, don't cheat. Don't look at my cards just because I looked at yours last time. I know, right?
Hey, sis. Aren't you gonna let me in?
Who is that? Honey, who is that?
Whoa. What's going on?
I don't know.
I want you to share a little bit with me about just what you took out of that experience, like what were your highlights were from that experience, and both the production of it, but also seeing the reaction of it from your fans, and knowing that was your baby, like you were in the juice as much as us creating that.
Oh, there's so many things to that.
Mm-hmm. I ask loaded questions.
Mm-hmm.
What was the first part of it?
So the experience making Let Me In.
The experience of making it was, I think about Reagan, because when we wrapped that scene and it was like golden hour and you did that shout, oh my God, I'm actually getting a little emotional about this. Mm-hmm. It was like, I'm a perfectionist. There was so many things looking at it I would have done differently, which I'm using, in the next one. But that experience of what a family that felt like, and when you did that like group come together, and she's like, that was the coolest experience I've ever had in my career. And she texted me the next day and said, I'm just dancing around because I got to be a part of that. Mm-hmm. So for me, that's just the experience as a whole and how fulfilling it was. even though I feel like there's a lot learned and growth and things that we want to do differently because we learned what works for us and what doesn't, and different things like that, which is just life. It just was the overall experience of what a cool feeling it was being a part of it and watching our dream come to life and being in just such an amazing group of people that feels like family.
It when we wrapped, that feeling felt, no matter that we got the noms, it felt like we had already won.
Yeah.
It was, it's very addictive. So when we talk about our bucket list, that, it's like when you do a drug, you may never get that feeling again, but that's what you always seek.
Oh, yeah.
And this project, Let Me In, gave us that. It gives us goosebumps.
Yeah.
It's just really good.
You both explained the exact reason why I am in this business, right? I had, like the ability, the amount of work that goes behind the scenes in making one of these projects. And not just the amount of work, but also like really the amount of passion. And everybody in the cast who is so committed, obviously the two of you, both as like co-writers and the stars of the project, Michael and Susie and the entire Pig Machine crew, and all of their, experience and commitment and passion, like just having that group together, making this thing, bringing this thing to life, it is the ultimate high that you try to chase. And for me, that's my whole motivation. I always reminds me of doing a lot of theater growing up, which I did, right? You work intensely on this project. You have however long your run is, then you have a great after party, and then after the next day you're like, wait a minute, where's my family, right? But I really felt that too, and I think that passion was carried through to the release, right? Because what we made, which was one of the top things on Adult Time last year, certainly one of the top Pure Taboo releases, just spoke to the audience so much as well, where they just loved it. It was, much like fans on social media, they're not going to be, they are fans, but they're going to let you know what they think.
Yeah.
And that was, unanimously high approval and positive comments. And then, of course, the two of you, when you released it, just promoted the hell out of it and gave it that extended life, because it caused so many people to say, what is this thing called Let Me In? I'm going to go look it up, And again, it was one of the most searched. I told you it was one of the most searched projects for us for the year. And it really is because of the passion that you all took to promoting it, which as a producer, is a dream. Oftentimes in our world, right? Like you mentioned, we shoot a lot of content. So a project can be fun, but you're kind of on to the next by the time, and the fact that you two were so committed, like really made it what it was. Made the green light for the sequel very easy.
Good.
Yeah. So why didn't you tease the sequel? Because when this comes out, it's going to be at the time where the movie comes out. And we haven't filmed it yet. But let's give a little behind the scenes to folks on like what we've been doing since the launch of the last one and to prepare for this one that we're going to be filming in a short time.
Oh, well, I think are just at the very, very tail end of, I'm like, gotta give you script approval, which I still have not done, damn it. We have tweaked the script together as a team and are at a place where the sex scenes are on point. We've picked all the talent.
I think the opening scene will be absolutely amazing. In my head, at least it is. I hope it comes out half as good as what it's in my head. I think it's what the fans will really like to see.
Oh, that opening, the whole thing, that thing's going to be amazing.
I think that's, I'm
if
excited,
they all show up.
That's right.
Yeah.
Depending on how many we look.
Excited to create that army.
Yes, yeah. Well, I loved, like, just in their creative process, right? Like, I'm always going to come to a project from the place of all right, looking at the data, right, and getting a sense of, okay, I think this and this and this ingredient are going to play really well. And I think one of you had mentioned the idea of, well, definitely we knew we wanted to take the two characters and show what happened to them after the end of the next one, and show, essentially how you were going to kind of grow your grow your army and strengthen your alliance. So we needed some new victims. And I can't remember which one of you suggested that a lesbian couple would be a good couple to destroy next. But that was like, I'm like, that is number one up on the data chart. So I loved being able to like look at the story from what we knew worked from the first one, looking at what, I thought would do really well with our audience, and then bring that to you as a baseline, and then be able to get your all's feedback on not just what you thought about what we had prepared, but also what you wanted to put into it. So we keep referring to this opening scene, okay? And everybody needs to watch it. We're not going to say what happens, but I will say that was completely your all's idea from discussing and be like, no, before they destroy that perfectly innocent lesbian couple and their stepson, they need to do this. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't have ever naturally gone there, like as a writer, wouldn't have been the first thing that I thought of. But when you brought it back, and also the motivation, which was a lot from your own audiences and data, and like, no, if they saw us do this,
yeah,
they would
especially
lose
her
their
fan
shit.
base.
Yeah.
Her fan base is going to lose their shit.
I wish it would rain that day. I think that would even make it better.
Yeah.
I know, isn't that crazy?
Reagan's been wanting a water scene since the first one, somehow.
And I would love to have one of the cast members from before do a cameo. And I wish we could do that without, affecting the budget and so forth. But I just think a cameo of a walkthrough or someone in the background or whatever, it would be amazing.
Yeah. Well, hey, listen, we
have to outdo that bathroom scene.
Yeah, you do.
That was her idea, and that was, so it's like you started the last one with that, and everyone was like, more of that, oh my God. And we're like, so I'm like, okay, well, what do you give people in the beginning?
Well,
that's
true. That's true. Yeah. I have a question. Do you have extra footage from that scene that never made it?
I remember that, one of the things we did with Let Me In, the first one, was we knew we were going to, we wanted more unique sex sequences, and we were going to put more variety in place of the length of the scenes. So when we filmed that sex battle between the two of you in the bathroom, we knew it was going to be about 5 minutes, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't think we probably filmed more than 5 minutes, but not a ton more.
Okay.
What are you thinking? Extended bathroom
You're
release?
Some kind of recut.
Right.
So
extended bathroom release at the end bonus scene.
If you merge the two together into one DVD, then you can have extra footage or an extra scene or that type of thing.
Well, I tell you what, if we put out like a double collector's edition disc,
you could add that extended bathroom.
We could go
scene.
in and see from the raws just how much, even the outtakes, just put it all together, right? Because it was precious, right?
Yeah.
It was definitely precious.
Oh, the outtakes on the bathroom?
Yeah.
I love it.
Honey, please open up. Can you please let us in? What's going on? Can you please unlock the door?
But yeah, so I love the idea that, within the sequel, without taking away from the effectiveness, because my job is always like, if you had pitched something that I was like, I just don't think that's going to fly, I wouldn't be shy to say. But I love the fact that you brought in that spin to the opening that really stems from your own knowledge of your fan bases and also what you want to do within, your careers, and that it fits so perfectly within the story. So to me, that's like a great example of the kind of collaboration that, between traditional studios and traditional performer communities, like where we can meet in the middle. Our projects like this, we're looking at, okay, how can we make something together that's going to hit with, both audiences, right? Without sacrificing one or the other. And I love that. I loved, your recommendations for the cast. We have a great cast. I won't reveal names just in case something changes because we haven't technically filmed it, but assuming all goes to off with a hitch, it's a great cast. But I also love the creative decision that we took to preserve the hierarchy of the doppelgangers, right? So rather than it just becoming an army of the same lookalikes, that it's really still centered around the relationship between Jessica and Tess and your two characters, and that, creating additional, lookalikes to sort of serve your mission is an interesting way to also kind of allow us to hopefully continue the story, make this a hit and continue the story in more directions.
I have such a good idea for that.
There you go.
You guys all know it, but I'm not going to say it out
She's
loud.
ready.
All right.
I'm so ready.
So everybody needs to be incredibly curious by listening to this conversation and go watch Let Me Into, which will be out on the Adult Time platform, and then watch it. Give us that viewership, get it to the top of the charts, and give us the excuse to make the next one. That should be our common
And if you
goal.
haven't seen the first one, watch that.
Yes,
Right.
yes,
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do a little special or something when,
There you go.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Throw that out there for the fans. I'm ready. I'm completely ready. So why don't you just tell me what we're gonna do?
This is your initiation. If you want to be one with me, you're going to have to prove it.
I want more.
How about we take on a protege?
How about 2?
Sorry to bother you. My car broke down. Will you let me in? Will you let me in too?
Of course. Yes, come in.
He deserves someone who sees you.
Ready for someone to take over.
Yes. Open your mouth, Terry. Let me in.
Okay, so this is our rapid fire segment. Yeah, hold on to Tim's because I
Here
don't
we
even
go.
know
You
what's
Need
written
2
on
Tims,
here.
you might need 2 to get through this.
Yeah, Shay might need
Rapid
both.
fire.
Okay, so
I don't want to take yours.
all right,
You're like, I'm good.
you have 60 seconds in a sex store with unlimited money. What are you picking up first?
Is it her?
This is to both.
Oh,
Whoever wants to chime in.
anything. There's everything.
Anything. You can,
Okay.
it's like that old show, that like old grocery store game show. You can just pick whatever you want. What are you
Is
gonna
there
pick?
latex?
Love that shit.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay, I would get like massive amounts of like fetish and dom gear and latex and things like that, and then like really cool, like the toys that you see that you're like, wow, that's so interesting.
Like those bad dragon. Like,
yeah, like just
tentacles and
things that
stuff.
like you're like just like really cool toys that I'd never buy that no one would send you from your wish list because you can't get them on Amazon, and yeah, that's what I would get.
I would get a sex doll.
Would you?
I probably would.
Yeah.
What'd you
Unlimited
do with
money.
it? Just have a little friend.
Do you know that the sex dolls are like the expensive ones? They are really heavy.
Are
Oh,
they?
yeah, they
I
weigh
feel
like
so
they're like
bad.
a person.
Yeah. So I did a scene. This was years ago. I did a scene like, kind of in a collab with a sex doll company, and I wrote them, and I'm like, if I were to make a scene featuring one of your dolls, could you send me one? And they did, and it arrived. I felt like such a murderer. It arrived in this big like cart, or big like kind of crate, and to lift it up. Both
like a
my
person.
wife and I had to lift it up.
Yeah.
And I drove it down to set, and we shot this episode of Future Darkly called The Aura Doll, which is in one of my favorite projects ever because it's so weird. It was Whitney Wright and Tommy Pistol doing a deadpan romantic threesome with this love doll, which is just bizarre. And its head ended up popping off by the end of it. And I drove home that night at 2 or 3 in the morning with this decapitated love doll in the back of the car, hoping that the cops wouldn't pull me over. But yeah, those things are heavy.
Yeah.
But they're a good investment.
So
Yeah.
did you have to return it?
No. And in fact, I think it's still sitting in one of our, prop storage lockers somewhere, in probably a state of decay. But anyway, it was a macabre experience.
I'm all like, should we bring that back?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, we could go dust her off,
Yeah.
put the head back on. But yeah.
There you go.
Make her a brunette.
Hey,
there
listen.
you go.
The idea is they just keep writing themselves. Right?
You're like, let me in.
The mannequin.
Let me
The
in.
mannequin
Why isn't she
lookalike.
letting me in?
Yeah, yeah, yes. She's an inanimate love doll. All right. What's the strangest thing you've seen on a porn set? Oh, this could go in many directions.
Oh. I don't know. I feel like I'm so twisted. I'm just used to everything and we see everything and nothing's weird. I'm like,
Even going into Kink Warehouse, I don't think there's anything that would shock me.
Yeah.
strangest
How about
thing.
you?
The one that comes to mind, I don't know if it's the strangest, but the one that comes to mind is there's a house that has a zombie baby like sculpture.
Oh, you're talking about the sets.
Yeah,
Not
or
the
just on
people.
a set, but
the
there was
things.
this zombie baby sculpture that no matter where you hit it, like it would just eventually be in your peripheral vision. And that's weird.
That's
not
weird.
something you, for a variety of reasons, want to see.
Is someone just messing with you?
I don't know. I think it was just this, the location owners can sometimes have eccentric tastes.
Yeah.
That's true.
And
Okay.
I believe this might have been an
So I
eccentric
have one
taste.
then based on that a little bit. The Antler House.
The Antler.
And it-
Oh, yes. I know the Antler House. Unless it's a different one.
Oh no, it's like the chandelier is
Yes,
antlers.
yeah.
The
Oh, yeah.
coffee table is
Yep.
antlers. The light, everything is just a bunch of antlers.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
that
And then
was
they've got the built-in like rock
waterfall thing
Yeah.
randomly in
Yeah.
the kitchen or something.
Yes, yeah.
yeah.
And you think to yourself, wow,
Yeah.
did you, this is custom? It has to be custom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the antlers, you're just like, there's just so many.
Yeah, there are a lot of antlers in that house, yeah.
Then I'm like, is this custom made? And then are you like, oh, I need more antlers?
Yeah.
Have you been to the Antler House? Or
You would
know.
recognize
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Yeah,
You'd be
you
like,
would
oh,
recognize it for
yeah.
sure. So here's an interesting one. If you two actually swapped bodies for one day, not just fictionally.
I play with my boobs so much.
Okay, good.
Sorry.
What about you, Reagan?
I'd throw her phone into the koi pond
Oh,
and nobody
nice.
would ever be able to talk
I've
to her.
done that before by mistake. And it was a Friday and I had to go and get one of those little, because I had Airbnb check-ins. And it's really hard texting on that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good. See, that question you knew how to answer instantly.
Yeah.
Okay, my last one here. What is the most unique custom request that you've received from a fan that you would want to share?
Oh. Unique.
Yes, because there are some unique ones.
I've been asked to poop and send it. I think that's the weirdest one, but
Toaster crumbs.
Okay, so please explain.
I collect celebrity toaster crumbs. And I'm like, okay. And he has a whole collection of toaster crumbs.
Yeah, that one's good. That's a good one.
I like that way better.
Yeah.
There were two ones. I wonder. I think these were circulating where this person would just email ask a whole bunch of people.
And then you have to wonder, like, are you fucking with me? Is this
right? Is this real? Right? Because it's fascinating.
And then they're like, ah, she sent this.
Yeah. Like so you want to you do want to kind of know. Like I want to do documentaries on all of these people.
Yeah.
Right? But there are two that fascinated me. One was poop related, which was a guy who was asking. He said, I've rented a hotel room, and I won't be there. You need to go to it, use the facility for a number 2, and then leave. And I think I'm pretty sure that was spammed to many people to try to get a response.
Did he call them body delicious treats?
Oh, is it that really long one? And he's like,
It's gotta be.
I know that guy.
I don't know if it is, but because
whole
this
story.
would have been a number of years ago. But I have always thought I have that scenario, like I have written that out as a scenario because it's so horrifying,
Yeah.
like just the prospect of like someone who would agree to go, trusting that the person is not there, but then like, can you go through with it? And then you can, and then you discover they're there. Oh, I have a whole scene. I've never
poop under pressure.
But I would call it number 2, right? Because you wouldn't actually do it. We can't do it. We wouldn't do it. But the psychological drama behind that custom request, it fascinates me.
Yeah.
But the other one that that I know was being spammed around. That's like, I needed to, when my wife at the time got the request, I had to reread that email like 10 times because I could not believe it was real. It was someone who wanted, it was a vor fetish video, and they wanted to be shot from the perspective of them as a turkey. And they wanted, the performer to, stuff them, baste them, and cook them, and all shot from the POV of them as the turkey, and that they would provide the turkey, and it had to be a certain kind of a turkey that, still had its head and everything. And they were very specific about the turkey, and that they would pay for the video, but also pay for the turkey. And to me, that is like bananas.
Yeah, that's really interesting because that's so many fetishes in one.
Yeah.
And like is it the food one? Is it like,
the kind of sort of vor consumption element?
And then it's like, and is it dominating because you're having these things done to you? Wait, as the POV, so the person's watching it like he's the turkey.
Yeah, and the most detail, and this was a very detailed request, but the most explicit detail was about the turkey itself. Like the turkey that would be procured as the prop.
People that are into food
specific.
are very specific because I did a lot of fetish and kink and things even before porn. That's where I started. And food, it's like, and I used to do the pie fetish ones, and it's like, the cream pie that wasn't this type of cream. Like, I mean, people are really specific about their things. So, but that is interesting.
Yeah, no, it's fascinating. Again, documentary subjects. It would be really interesting. We could go on and on and on, but people need to go watch Let Me In too.
Yes.
I think at this point.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for
I
having
love
us.
working with both of you. You've been an amazing team. You're each amazing individuals. We love you at Adult Time. Thank you so much for all that you do.